Welcome back to the Lingua Loom. Today we're going to start another episode of Semantics series, which is antonymy. So, antonymy, or set of opposites, the hot, cold, alive, dead, teacher, student. There are different types of opposites, and that changes everything. So let's start the topic. Before starting, please do like, subscribe, and share, and do comment. And it means a lot and gives us courage to do much more for the channel. So, not all opposites are the same kind of opposites. Ask anyone what hot is the opposite of, and they will say cold without hesitation. Ask what alive, well, obviously dead. And teacher, it's say have student. So different types of opposite, but if you test them logically, they behave entirely different. Not hot does not mean cold. Not alive does not mean dead. So teacher implies student in a way neither of the first two pair does. So antonymy is the family of relation, not a single one, and linguists have mapped that family with precision. So well, look at it. That what does it actually mean that not all opposites are always the same? So first starting with the definition, what is antonymy? So antonymy is the lexical relation of semantic opposition, the relation that holds between words whose meanings are in some form of contrast or polarity. It is one of the most fundamental relations in the lexicon and one of the most exploited in human communication. So we constantly define, describe, or reason through opposition. But antonymy is not simple uniform relation. Linguists like John Lenz, D. A. Cruz, and Murphy have shown what speakers call opposites actually cover at least four structurally distinct types. So this is about the types of antonymy, each with its own logical properties, linguistic tests, and implications for meaning. So these are the four types that are gradable antonyms, complementary antonyms, relational antonyms, and directional antonyms. So let's look at. Here's the definition. Antonymy is the lexical sense relation of semantic opposition between words. It is not a single uniform relation, but a family of distinct opposition types, including gradable, complementary, and relational antonymy, each with different logical and linguistic properties. Well, let's look at the first type, which is gradable antonym. Opposites on the scale with whole spectrum between them. So what does this mean? Gradable antonyms are most common type of antonym. The name two and of a continuous scale or spectrum. But crucially, there is a range of intermediate values between them, and both words can be modified by degree adverbs. So the key linguistic test for gradable degree modification, you can say very hot, slightly cold, extremely tall, fairly short. Both members of the pair accept degree modifiers, comparative form, hotter than, colder than, taller than. So these are the examples of gradable. Both have comparative and superlative forms. Negation does not exert the opposite. Not hot does not mean cold. It simply means that something is not actually that much hot. It can be lukewarm, cool, just warm. So, a scale typically has a neutral midpoint, or at least regions between the two poles. Room temperature is neither hot or cold. Medium height person is neither tall or short. So the existence of the middle ground here. So this is the example: hot, cold, tall, short, fast, slow. So this shows the degree modification, that very hot, very cold, hotter than, this is comparative, colder than, the not hot is not cold. This negates opposition. So the logic of gradable antonymy. Because gradable antonymy exists on the scale, their meaning is context dependent. What counts as tall depends on what are you comparing. A tall child is shorter than a short basketball player. The standard shift with the comparison clause. This is where gradable adjectives are studied intensively in formal linguistics. Their meaning involves a contextually supplied standard, not fixed threshold. So Klein and Kennedy and others have formalized this degree in semantics. You can check out their works in detail to study it. So these are the example garam thanda, which is garam is hot, thanda is cold. A perfect gradable antonym you can say bahut garam, which is very hot, thoda thanda, slightly cold, garam tar, hotter, garam nahi, not hot, does not mean thanda. So this is another neem garam, which is lukewarm or tepid. So other example, uncha nincha, which is tall, short, hush, gamgeen, happy, sad. So let's look at complementary antonym, which is second type, binary opposition, no middle ground, no degree. So complementary antonyms are also binary antonyms or contradictories or true binary pairs. They divide their domain into exactly two mutually exclusive, exhaustive categories. There is no middle ground. If something is not one, it must be the other. So the key logical property is negating one asserts the other. So here, not alive means dead, not dead means alive, not married means single, not single means married. So this shows the contradictions. Setting aside widow divorce for a moment, we're not discussing that. This is strict either or logic that gradable antonym does not have. Gradable antonyms are happy, more happy, less happy. There's degrees in it. But here, if something is if someone is not something, then it must be the other thing. Like if you're not dead, then you must be alive. So the key linguistic tests, first one is degree modification fails, very alive is odd, slightly dead is bizarre. You're either alive or you're dead. Slightly dead is not possible. These words do not accept degree adverbs. And the other one is no comparative forms, more alive than and deader than. These are not normally used. So negation asserts the opposite, not alive, it means death. Oh, sorry. So here's a note. Real language sometimes uses these hyperbolic, more live, more dead than alive. The mark literally is using not standard semantic behavior of the pair. So these are some of the examples. You can read them, that alive, dead, single, married, these kind of situations. And the Urdu example, same zinda murda, alive, dead, like in English, it is that. So the logic of complementary antonyms. Complementary antonyms have the logical structure of contradiction in classical logic. A and not A, then satisfy the law. So they satisfy the law of excluded middle. Everything must be one or the other with no third option. So the cleanliness of complementary pairs depend on strictly the categories are defined. Biological life and death are sometimes hard to separate at the boundary, coma or brain death. Semantics often deals with this by saying complementary pairs are idealized binary categories. The meaning is binary even if reality is missing. So they say it's mentioned that despite some circumstances like coma or brain dead, so other than these, there are only situations which are totally logical, that if there is something, other must be not present. That if you're alive, you must not be dead. So let's look at the third one, relational antonyms. Each word implies and requires the other. They describe the same relations from opposite viewpoints. So, relational antonyms, also called converses, are the most semantically interested type. Unlike gradable and complementary antonyms, converses do not describe independent and the scale or binary category. Instead, they describe the same relationship with opposite perspective, like teacher student. If A is a teacher, then B must be a student. So it's that kind of relationship. If the another example is employer employee, like this one, husband wife, these kind of relationship with are antonyms. So they're sort of relating to one another. If you're buying something, they must be selling something. If someone is giving something, the other must be receiving it. So it's that kind of. So the Urdu example is same like the English one, Ustad, Shagird, which is teacher, student. So let's look at the logic of converses. Converses have the logical property of entailment in both directions. A teaches B, entails B learns from A, and vice versa. This is the different from both gradable antonyms and complementary antonyms. Converses reveal a profound fact about language. Many relationships in the world can be described from two perspectives, and the language provides different lexical items from each perspective. This is why we both have buy and sell the same transaction described from the buyer and seller's point of view. So let's move forward. First type, directional antonyms. Opposite direction in space, time, and movement. A compass of language. So directional antonyms describe movement, orientation, or progression in opposite direction. They are sometimes grouped with relational antonyms, but curse and others treat them as distinct subtypes because their structure is spatial or temporal, not just perspectival. So the defining feature, both words describe movement or orientation. Along the same axis but in opposite direction. So these are the example: north, south, up, down, come, go, arrive, depart, rise, fall. So all describe movement on the single axis but in opposing direction. So this share some property with converses. If x comes toward y, then from x perspective y goes toward x. But they are distinguished by their spatial and temporal nature. Like it's the situation, if something is up, then other must be down. So all describe movements along the same axis but in opposite direction. So Urdu example, ana jana, that is come and go. So if someone is coming, the other must be. So let's look at why directional antonyms matter. Well, directional antonyms are important in cognitive semantics because spatial opposition are the source of many abstract opposition in language. Rise and fall applies to the sun, to stock prices, to empires, to hopes. Come and go applies to people, season, ideas, and fashion. Like fallen stocks, stock prices, rise of empire, rise of hope. These are the examples. This is conceptual metaphor at work. We map the spatial directional antonyms onto abstract domain. More is up, less is down, the stock market rise or fall, career ascent and decline. The directional antonym is the spatial route. The metaphor extends it into abstract territory. Let's move forward. So, how to test any antonym pair? So, the first test is degree modification. So if both members accept degree adverbs like very, slightly, extremely, fair, the pair is gradable. If degree modification sounds odd, it is likely complementary. Like these are the examples: very hot, very cold, well gradable, good to go. Very alive, very dead. Well, that's complementary because you cannot be very alive or slightly alive. So, very teacher, very student. This is wrong. It is relational teacher and student. You cannot add very with it. Then, second test is negation test. If negating one member asserts the other, the pair is complementary. If negating one does not necessarily mean the other, the pair is gradable. Converses have different negation behavior. Entirely not hot is not equal to cold, so it is hot and cold, which is gradable. So alive, not alive is equal to dead, so it is complementary. Not a teacher is not equal to student, it is relational teacher and student. So this says if negating one does not necessarily mean the other, the pair is gradable, so it is about this. Let's move to the third, which is middle ground test. If something can be neither X nor Y, the pair is gradable. Lukewarm is neither hot nor cold. If nothing can be either X or Y, it is complementary. Nothing is neither alive or dead in normal sense. So hot, lukewarm, and cold are the same. So middle ground exists, it's gradable. Alive and there no middle ground, so it is complementary. Above and below, no middle ground, so it is directional. Then the fourth test, which is converse test. If a relationship described by one word can be reversed, described from the other participant's perspective using the other word, the pair is converse. Ali teaches Sarah. Sarah studies with Ali. Well, if you swap the meanings still stay the same. So it is converse. Ali sold the car. Someone bought it. It is also converse. Then X is above Y. Y is below X. So it is directional converse. So these are the 4 tests that you can apply to check antonym pairs, that if they are gradable, complementary, relational, or directional. And classify these pairs. Let's look at them. Hot and cold, gradable. Well, we have already discussed it, that something can be very hot, slightly cold. So like this, they can be graded. Alive and dead, complementary. Because if one is alive, it can't be dead. And if someone is dead, they can't be alive. So it is complementary. One complements the other. Teacher-student, relational. Then up, down, directional. Yes. Tall, short, gradable, very tall and extremely short. Their grades, so it is gradable. Pass, fail, complementary, because if you pass, you cannot fail, and if you fail, you cannot pass. Then buy, sell, relational. There is a relation. Someone is buying and someone is selling. Come, go, directional. Then rich, poor, gradable. Something is very. Someone is very rich and moderately poor, so these are grades. Then true, false, complementary. If something is true, then other must be false. Parent, child, relational. Rise, fall, directional. Movement is in opposite direction, downward movement. Then garam, thanda, gradable, again like hot and cold. Zinda, murda, alive and dead. Ustad, shagir, it is like this, teacher student. Then Anna Jana come go is this. Then antonyms in language and life. So antonymy is not just a classroom concept. It shapes how we think, argue, write, and communicate at the deepest level. Okay. Framing in media, journalists and politicians exploit complementary antonyms to force binary choices. So this is an example: you are either with us or against us. Imposes complementary logic on what may be gradable reality. Understanding antonym types reveal when binary framing is being used to distort a complex situation. So they are used in media. In poetry and literature, poets exploit all four types of antonyms. Blake's Song of Innocence and Experience is built on complementary opposition. Urdu ghazal poetry constantly plays with gradable antonyms like Roshni and Dera to express the spectrum of emotional experience. Then cognitive organization. Psycholinguistic research shows that antonyms are among the fastest word associations human-made. Faster than synonyms, antonyms are stored in close proximity in mental lexicon and are processed together, suggesting opposition is fundamental cognitive organizing principle. So these are the importance in psycholinguistics. Then legal and logical arguments. Legal arguments frequently hinge on whether a distinction is complementary, which is guilty or not guilty, or gradable on a scale reasonable, unreasonable care. Mixing up antonym types in legal and logical argument lead to fallacies and false dilemmas. So this shows the usage of different antonyms in different fields. Then there are other two which are okay, let's scroll it a bit later. NLP and AI, natural language processing system must distinguish antonym types to reason correctly. Example is the patient is not dead should not be processed the same as the patient is alive, unless the system knows that dead or alive is complementary. Not credible antonym types affect logical inference in automated systems. So this shows that to train NLPs correctly, antonyms must be processed and featured out correctly. Then cross-linguistic variation. Not all languages encode the same antonym pairs with equal precision. Some languages have single word covering what English expresses as opposite end of the scale. Cross-linguistic antonymy research reveals how different cultures conceptualize polarity, scale, and opposition in structurally distinct ways. So these are the use of antonymy in different fields. Let's look at antonymy in Urdu. So these are the type. Haridna Besha, it is the same like English. By ourselves, this is relational and complementary antonym, which is batil, and haq, which is truth. Right and haq is truth and right, and batil is falsehood or wrong. Then roshni, these are complementary antonyms. Then gradable antonyms: roshni, andhera. Roshni, light, andhera, darkness. They can be more light and dim light, like these are fading darkness, these kind of grades. Then gum, hushi, these are gradable antonyms. You can be very happy to slightly happy. Gum is sorrow and hushi is joy, and gum you can be slightly unhappy, somewhat unhappy, this kind of situation. Then other example are Utarna, charna. Utarna to descend and charna to ascend. Directional antonyms. So opposition is not a single semantic phenomenon, but a family of relations with different logical structure. Not conflating them is one of the most common source of error in both everyday reasoning and formal arguments. So adopted from Cruz, Lexical Semantics. So this shows that semantics is very important in self, and antonyms are not just opposition of words. They are different categories, different types according to which they are situated. Let's take a look at the quiz. What is the single most logical test that distinguishes gradable from complementary antonyms? Say it is negation if something is if something is not, then it must be something else. Whereas in gradable, it's not possible because in gradable there are categories, grades. So this is correct. So negation test is the most decisive. For gradable antonym, not hot is not equal to cold. Could be lukewarm, warm, or cool. So complementary antonyms are if you're not alive, you must be dead. So this is the negation test. It's all the problem. Then other second one, very alive sounds strange. Not alive means dead. What type of antonym is alive, dead? Well, relational, no. Directional, no. Gradable, well, this is complementary. We just discussed in the previous one. Then goes, if Wally sold the car, then someone bought it. What type of antonym is buy, sell? And what is the technical term for this type? Gradable. You cannot say vary by or slightly by. The complementary, buying and selling are binary opposites. Then directional, many moves in opposite direction. Then relational, they describe the same transaction from opposite perspectives. So this is a relation. The relation, if someone is buying that, other must be selling it. So in the Urdu pair, which is wasal and hajr, union and separation, the ghazal tradition explores every point on the spectrum between them. What does this tell us about their antonym types? They're complementary, they're gradable, they're directional, they're converses. So they're gradable. Well, answer wasn't in the options. The ghazal explores every point of the spectrum. There is only possible because there is a spectrum with degrees of nearness and distance. So fifth one is you are either with us or against us. Which antonym type is being imposed here? And what might be wrong with applying it? Gradable antonyms, degree of support. You're either against, well, you can't be very with them or slightly against. Then directional, movement, converse, speaker and audience. Well, we're not talking about speaker and audience. Complementary antonym is being opposed. Well, that's correct. Complementary. If someone is with someone that can't, then it means they are not against someone. And if someone is against someone, they can't be with them. So the sixth one, careers ascend and decline, stock market rise and fall. The spatial word ascend and descend and rise and fall are abstract. What type of synonym are they? Well, spatial. Well, spatial is here, so it shows from here. It's obviously directional. So this is it, because directional consists of spatial or temporal ones, antonyms. So let's look at the seventh antonym type. Has the property that if A, which of the four antonym types have the property that if A relates to B by word X, Then B relates to A by word by. Gradable, complementary, directional, relational is described by true perspective if each word interval. This is the answer is in the question. Correct. The converse relational antonym type has this perspective. If A relates to B by word B, Y, then B relates to A by word Y. Teacher, student, boys, all above, below, parent, child. All satisfy this test. This mutual perspectival entailment is what makes conversation structurally distinct from the other antonym types. So this is for today. I hope you understand it clearly. Again, please do like, subscribe, and share, and do comment. It means a lot. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.